Hello, my name is Mel Reed with Optimus Training and Development. Um, just wanted to start this one thing seminar. It is a little bit different than when we're in front of a live audience, but I wanted you to get the one on one experience of the information that can change your life, radically change your business and your personal life. So, we're going to get started with the one thing, the surprising truth behind simple, extraordinary results. And it is simple. So what we're going to do is I'll give you a little introduction myself. I've been in sales and marketing most of my life. As a matter of fact, I started when I was, I think, 8, selling light bulbs door to door. Seeds, garden seeds, and newspapers and donuts. So I've had some experience, but other than when I was a kid, I was a sales management leader with Motorola Communications, Nextel Communications, a national trainer with Rialto Academy and with Realogy, the real estate giant company. Been a coach most of my life in high school and college athletics. And one of the things that I realize is when someone sits down to offer, learning online, it's one of those things that we have to stay focused. So I'm going to encourage you to block out enough time to take advantage of this information. And if you haven't read the book, I would recommend that you get the book. It's right there on the screen. The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. Last 6, almost 7 years now, it's been on the best-selling list, at least 320 lists, sold multiple millions of copies. And right now, you're going to get the benefit of that book, and I would encourage you to pick it up and read it. One of the things that we do at Optimus Training and Development, we have a full suite of products. A lot of those are designed for individuals and or teams and companies. We do one-on-one coaching, business consulting. You can visit our website at optimustraining.com just to find out more. So let's go ahead and get into the content. One of the things I noticed over the years is my big aha is when I had great results, it wasn't because I was focused on a lot of great big ideas. Most of the time, it was small incremental steps that I could take in my business that lends itself over time to be totally effective. And where my focus varied, I noticed that my success also varied. So I'm going to help us to stay focused in this class so that you get full benefit from the one thing. Today is about focus. We want you to be focused, but not too comfortable. Here's my point. Are you comfortable? Well, hopefully some of you are doing this late at night, early in the morning. You've got your set routine. You've got it condensed into a 30-minute block so that you can take advantage of all the information that's presented. But what I'm talking about is not comfortable in your, pajamas and slippy or fuzzy slippers, comfortable in your business, comfortable in your personal life. I'm going to challenge that a little bit. I don't want you to get too comfortable because if it doesn't challenge us, it doesn't change us. And what we're after is change in a big way to help you develop your business and your personal life. So don't get too comfortable. Change your attitude, change your mindset, you change your focus, you change your life. So that's what we're all about. And you heard me say this, if it doesn't challenge me, it doesn't change me. What do I mean by that? I mean that if we're not really challenged in a concept, a new idea, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll just fall into that rut of status quo. So I want you to be challenged sufficiently, not overly, but sufficiently to change some of the things that need to change in your life. So what is this? What is this number? 1,440. To me, that 1,440 represents minutes of every day. And if we're all given 1,440 minutes in each day, why do some people actually get more done than others in that same amount of time? Is it that they're better trained? Well, possibly. Is it that they're just lucky? Well, you spell luck, W-O-R-K, the harder you work, the luckier you get. But that 1,440 minutes represents the same time. And if we waste that time or invest that time, that's what we're talking about, the difference. So our goal is to get the most out of each day. And I'm sure you either own a business or are responsible for leading other people, or as an entrepreneur, as a team leader at a major company. Whatever the dynamic is, this information will help you. And here's another lead law that I developed. There are no bad teams. There's only bad leaders. Now, what I mean by that is a team is only as good as the leader. Seriously. And I've seen this time and time again. You can take in basic training in the military. I happen to be in the Navy, and one of the things that we noticed that our platoon leader, if we had a good leader, it seemed like everyone on the team excelled. Would you agree with that? So what we're looking for are the traits in leaders that can develop the most out of each and every team member. If you lead a team of one, just yourself, that's all right. You're a leader. And so you need to make the best decisions that you can on a day-to-day basis. Here's another lead law. I believe in the me that I am building. I want you to write down 3 things right now that you're in your personal life. List 3 things that you're building in your personal or business life. I'll give you just a few seconds to do that. And let me give you some examples. I'm building a stronger marriage. The way that I'm doing that is I'm investing the time. I'm reading, the 5 love languages, or I'm taking time to really be with my spouse, to spend that time. I'm building stronger kids. On the average, I think most fathers spend about 17 seconds a day, good time, 17 seconds with their kids, whether that's early in the morning or late at night, or that's not going to cut it. So if you're wanting to build stronger kids, you've got to invest the time. So, what are you building? What are you building? I believe in the me that I'm building. Another quick question. Do you believe what you believe is really real? Do you believe what you believe is really real? Chances are, of course, or you wouldn't believe it. Well, I might challenge some business concepts. I know it challenged me when I first read this book. I was a very successful coach and real estate entrepreneur and investor. And one of the things that it allowed me to do is really analyze how well my business was functioning. I have always said, or since college, where I heard this, we are only as good as the we that we develop. There's always room for improvement. The greatest room in the world is the room for improvement. The largest room in the world is the room for improvement. The greatest nation on earth is determination. So how determined are you to change your business? When we open the book, we find that there's a page in there that says, if you chase 2 rabbits, you'll catch neither. Think about that. That's an old Russian proverb. If you chase 2 rabbits, you're not going to catch either one of them. Those things are elusive, right? So in other words, if your focus is divided, chances of accomplishing everything that you need to accomplish are diminished. So if you chase 2 rabbits, you'll catch neither one. And then what's success? Most people that attend a course like this, one of their greatest desires is to achieve a certain level of success. What does that mean to you, success? People vary in their answers with that. Success, in my opinion, is when you're happy doing what you're doing and you're helping other people be happy in what they're doing. I'm happy in what I am doing, and I'm helping other people get there. But whatever success is for you, a lot of times people measure it monetarily, how much money's in the bank, how happy my family is. So there's a lot of definitions for success. So really the one thing that I've realized that over the years I've noticed that the world isn't set up to help me succeed for the most part. There are people that really have a vested interest and they want to see me do well, just like in your business. But there's also people that they don't want anyone to excel because it takes away their excuse for failure. In other words, if I succeed and my counterpart in the same office doesn't get that promotion, they're either jealous, envious, or saying they didn't deserve it, when reality is you've probably put in the work to get the promotion. But a lot of people, the world isn't set up for our success. As a matter of fact, it's set up to detract from our success most of the time. So what I want you to do is I want you to focus on the things that we can change, because if you change the things you can, the things you focus on, in other words, if you focus, what you focus on expands. It'll get bigger. So here's the point. Don't average your life. Your definition of average is probably what? When it comes to school, it was A, B, C, D, or F. You didn't want to get an F. So average would be a C. Well, average, my definition, is the worst of the best and the best of the worst. Nobody wants to be that. The best of the worst or the worst of the best. No, I don't think so. But here's what I don't want you to do is average your life. You were made to do great things. You were made to accomplish things that you barely dreamed possible. You weren't made for failure. That's the fact. Some people have told you that. You'll never amount to anything. You'll never be successful. You can't do that. I want you to block all that out right now, and we're going to focus on what it means to take it to the next level, because going small does the world no good. You living a small life and keeping inside that little box that people try to put you in, that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help your family. It really doesn't help the world. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's expand your horizons, okay? You want a big life, but the way to get there is you do go small. You really focus on the things that matter most. Not everything is equal. So, how many of you have played dominoes? Have you ever played dominoes? I mean, when I was a kid, that was a big deal with my grandparents. I think my grandpa was probably, in his mind, he never lost a domino game. It might have ended, but he wasn't done. He was a great player. But I remember waiting, and when the kids were there and before bedtime and they were wrapping up a game of dominoes, I always asked to take the box so that I could stack those dominoes up, end on the table, the next one, you've seen it, and you create one of these and a domino run. So let's talk about the domino effect in our business. The domino effect, Lauren Whitehead in 1983 in the American Journal of Physics was talking about the power, the innate power that's in a 1-2-inch domino. In other words, how much power is in that domino? Well, what he discovered is that domino has the ability to 1.5, it can knock over something 1.5 times its size. So if you think about that, 1-2-inch domino can knock down a 3.5-inch domino that can knock down, and then multiply that out 1 time, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. So really, when we're talking about a domino effect, here's the power of that. If you start with one domino, by the time you get to the 10th domino, there's enough energy and height to knock Payton Manning down. Well, he's retired. That might be easy, but I mean, in his heyday. The 18th domino can knock over the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And you get to the 23rd domino, it towers over the Eiffel Tower. By the time you get to the 31st domino, it's higher than Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth. And by the time you get to the 59th domino, you actually have enough energy to reach from planet Earth to the moon. Just that small incremental increase, time over time over time. Does that make sense? Think about that. So the idea is, how do we create a domino effect by starting the one and knocking down the next and the next and the next, a domino run in our business? Because if we can do that, we can be very, very successful. But what a lot of people do is they don't want to start with they want to start on the 10th or the 31st domino. It doesn't work that way. You need to create a domino effect in your business and in your life. Extraordinary success is not, sequential. I mean, it is sequential. It's not simultaneous. So it builds on each other. So you make the right decision, you do the next right thing, and it builds success. Time on task equals success. Time on task equals success. So you spend the time on the right task, you will be successful. It's never wrong to do the next right thing. Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens said that, Mark Twain. And so you think about, well, the greatest leaders in history, what did they have that most people don't? Well, maybe they had more time to work on their task. I'll give you an example. Here is the founder of FedEx. His name is Fred Smith. And when he came up with this idea, I think he got a D on a college project. And one of his professors said, that will never work. Famous last words. That will never work. So what he did is he went out and proved that, not just that professor, but the entire world, from a logistics standpoint, his one thing was what? Yeah, remember when it positively has to get there overnight? So his one thing is quick delivery and increased logistics in package delivery. Very, very successful. If you looking at this next slide, this lady, you probably recognize her, Mother Teresa. She changed the world for working with the untouchables in India. Here's this little nun from Albania that started with compassion and changed the face of the world. What was her one thing? Was it building hospitals and taking care of people? No, that was a result of her one thing. Her one thing, and she said this in an interview before she passed away, she said, my one thing is to serve God. I want to be the hands and the feet of God. And I think she proved that that was actually the case. This guy, Sam Walton, his one thing was low price every day. Built the largest retailer in the world as a result of being focused on delivering products at a lower price. So what's your one thing? See, the idea is that you find your one thing and then you just whack away at it until it falls. And then you line up the process to identify your one thing that leads to the other, that leads to another. It's not that we can't do a lot of things. It's just that we focus on one thing at a time. We'll get into the idea that multitasking is a good thing. It's not. It's a lie. We're going to talk about some lies. We're going to talk about how you can focus on the one thing to be successful in your business. So in the book, we talk about the focusing question. The focusing question is this. The focusing question is, what's the one thing that I can do today that such by doing it makes everything else easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing I can do today that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? Now let's break that down. What's the one thing I can do? In other words, it implies I can do this, and it's one thing. What's the one thing I can do by which doing it makes everything else easier or unnecessary? So you break that down, and all of a sudden it's like, so all I need to do is identify that one thing that I work on during this time to produce great results. Hope that makes sense. So how many of you are familiar with the 80-20 principle, right? So the idea behind that, the Pareto principle, is you get 80% of your result on 20% of your activity. If you focus on that 20% activity, you can get 80% of the productivity. What happens is people get so focused on the stuff that they need to improve that they lose focus on what they do well, and sometimes it hurts productivity. So we're going to get into a process to identify the 20% that gives us 80%. 80%. of all the productivity. So why would you focus on anything else if it doesn't produce results? Good question. Because when we ask that focusing question, what's the one thing I can do that such by doing it makes everything else easier or unnecessary? In the book, we've got a chart, and there's 7 areas of life, the pillars, if you will, that really you start with and I'll go through these. If you don't have the book, I would highly suggest you get it. But on this slide, let me just explain it to you. We start at the top. What's the one thing I can do for my spiritual life? That by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. In a live class, I've asked that question, a lot of feedback. What's the one thing I can do in my spiritual life? People say, I need more quiet time. I need more prayer time. I need to spend time, I need to go to church, or whatever it is. I need to go to synagogue. I need to go to the mosque. I need to increase my spiritual life. That's the one thing I can do. Now, once you answer that question, what's the one thing? Now you have to do it. So we're going to get into that. But what's the one thing I can do for my physical health? I've asked that question over the years, and people say, well, I need to work out. I need to get back to the gym. I need to get on the treadmill. I need to quit eating donuts. I need to stop stuffing my face at every meal. I mean, there's a lot we can do. Let me say this. You're not going to outwork a bad diet. If you're eating nonsense, I don't care how much you work out, your physical health is not as good as it can be. So we put good things in, and guess what? We produce good things. What's the one thing I can do in my personal life? Over the years, I've had people say, well, I need to reconnect with my kids. I need to understand my family for my personal life. What's the one thing I can do for key relationships? What's the one thing I can do on my job? What's the one thing I can do for my business? And what's the one thing I can do for my finances? That by doing it makes everything else easier or unnecessary. It doesn't matter where you are in life. You're no more than 5 years away from being the very best. Excuse me. So I want you to think about that in every one of those areas. And then ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do in those areas that such by doing it makes everything else easier or unnecessary?